Let's not lie to ourselves. This wasn't football's version of fireworks. This wasn't a champagne-soaked seven-goal thriller with knee slides and shirt twirling. No, this was Real Madrid doing what Real Madrid do better than almost anyone in Europe. Winning a game with just enough effort to remind you they're still Real Madrid, even when they're not at their dazzling best. So, let's relive this gritty 1-0 slogfest under the soft misery lamp of Getafe's Coliseum. The kind of game where you check the calendar and remember it's May and think, yes, of course. This is when the grind begins. And grind it was. From the very first second, Endrick took a body check from Duarte. Not a little love tap, but a full welcome to La Liga kid moment. And you got the sense, right then, that this wasn't going to be a match where football did the talking. No, this was about bruises and bad tempers. About enduring, not entertaining. Now, Real Madrid weren't perfect, let's be very clear. They were rotated to the point of dizziness. 6 changes. 6! Like Ancelotti spun a coaching wheel of fortune and just picked whoever wasn't icing their knees. But somehow, even with that Frankenstein lineup, they still had the only truly poetic moment of the night. A curled kiss of a finish from Arda Guler in the 21st minute. You almost felt bad for Getafe. They'd actually started well. Structured. Compact. Annoying, in that way only mid-table sides fighting for pride can be. But then Vinicius, because of course it was Vinicius, slices through their defensive plans like a bad mood at a birthday party. Cross comes in, chaos ensues, the ball ping-pongs, and then there he is. Guler. Young, Turkish, left-footed, calm as a Buddhist monk. He doesn't blast it. He doesn't rush. He curls it with an elegance that doesn't belong in a match like this. Into the corner. 1-0. Job half done. And from that point forward, it was less football, more procedural drama. Madrid tried to manage, Getafe tried to react, and the ball, poor ball, just wanted a nap. There was no grand resurgence, no momentum-shifting set-piece magic. Just Getafe butting their heads against the ivory wall of Thibaut Courtois and the clock. Alvaro and Koba brought some late fire, like rebellious extras refusing to leave the stage, but ultimately, nothing went in. Not for lack of trying. They had over 2 expected goals, which for Getafe is like climbing Everest with a rusty fork. But Real Madrid, under 1.5 expected goals. Still won. Still smiling that smug, we'll-figure-it-out smile. You know the one. It's ugly, sure. It's slow and sometimes painful, but it's Madrid in the mud. And somehow, that's when they're most dangerous. Like a crocodile in a swamp, unmoved, unseen, and suddenly... snap. 3 points. Barcelona won the day before, dragging the gap to 7. Madrid heard that news, rolled their eyes, and said, fine, 4 again. This was a win they had to get. Not one they'll remember. But a win that matters. And those are the most annoying kind if you're anyone else in the title race. Let's take this thing apart, like it's an IKEA shelf that keeps wobbling. Because under the surface of this 1-0 win, there's a game of 2 very different halves. And neither of them would qualify for highlight reels unless you're into missed chances, tactical anxiety, or watching players emotionally unravel at minute 89. So let's rewind to that first half. The opening 20 minutes weren't so much cautious as they were sleepwalking. Endrick gets clobbered about 30 seconds in, which sort of sets the tone. Physical. Moody. It felt less like a football match and more like an awkward family reunion where everyone's pretending they're not mad at each other. Getafe's plan was as subtle as a fire drill. Sit deep, frustrate, and kick anyone who moves too quickly. Mayoral buzzed around like someone who drank 3 energy drinks and then realized he left his boots in the car. Terrats had a tame early effort, the kind that makes the keeper gently crouch just to say he touched the ball. But then, finally, a flicker. 18 minutes in, Vasquez, who was wearing the captain's armband and also the expression of someone forced to do too much homework, slices in from the right. Feeds Vinicius. Cross. Scramble. Garcia smacks a shot that Soria blocks, only for Garcia to absolutely panic and volley it back into orbit. But don't worry, that chaos was just the appetizer. Minute 21, the moment of beauty. The kind of goal that feels like a misprint. Amid all the grit and grind, up steps Arda Guler. Getafe can't clear, Vinicius makes a mess of his decision, Diaz scrambles to keep the play alive, and the ball just kind of trickles to Guler on the edge of the box. And what does he do? He gives it the sweet kiss of a curler left-footed into the side netting. Soria's diving, but he's basically auditioning for futility. 1-0. Not earned, not logical, just Madrid. From that point, the half turned into Madrid pushing for a second and Getafe trying to not cry in public. Endrick nearly made it 2 with a cute 1-2 and a side foot that was dragged off the line by Gene with the kind of desperation usually reserved for saving a toddler from traffic. Then Diaz ripped one that nearly took Soria's gloves off. Madrid had 70% possession, a gazillion accurate passes, and the vibe of a team that would love to be anywhere else. Getafe? They had .39 expected goals and a lot of side eyes. But then, second half. Ah yes, the eternal curse of we're up 1-0, let's make things more complicated than they need to be. Ancelotti shuffled the deck again. Off came Alaba. In came Camavinga, who looked like he was simultaneously playing midfield and emergency left-back and field medic. Tchouaméni dropped into defense. It was like watching someone do algebra on a trampoline. Getafe, to their credit, smelled the hesitation. Bordalás brought on Alvaro and Koba, 2 players with names that sound like low-budget action heroes, and suddenly the game got spicy. Faster, sharper, twitchier. It was no longer a stroll. It was survival. Arambari missed a sitter. Alone in the middle of the box, shot like he was allergic to accuracy. Mayoral shoved Tchouaméni in the face and somehow avoided a card. The match began to unravel like a badly sewn curtain. Everything frayed. Then the madness. Courtois spills a cross. Alvaro crashes in like a flying brick and nearly pokes it in. Instead, he jabs Courtois and earns a yellow. Melee. Mayhem. A little bit of hold-me-back energy. And Madrid. They held on, barely, with bruises and limps and 0 substitutes left after Camavinga pulled something vital in his lower body. By the end, Real Madrid were defending like it was a bank heist. Every clearance was a scream. Every save was a sigh of relief. Courtois, with his catch and collapse routine, looked like a man trying to nap on the job just to make time go away. Final whistle. Relief. Not joy. Just relief. Like passing an exam you didn't study for but somehow still aced. So let's breathe a little and talk about both sides of this tightrope walk. Because this wasn't just Real Madrid grinding out a win. This was 2 teams, one clinging to elite expectations and the other swinging a hammer at their ceiling, hoping something might crack. Let's start with Getafe, the home side. The blue wall. The proud 12th place team who came into this match with the emotional energy of someone who's been ghosted by La Liga's elite for a decade straight. And yet, you couldn't question the commitment. This team isn't trying to be beautiful. They're not aiming for poetry. They're that stubborn patch of gum on the boot of a title contender. You're not thrilled it's there, but you can't shake it off. From the first whistle, Getafe played like men possessed. Or at least, very annoyed. Duarte and Gene were tackling like they'd lost a bet. Terrets and Milla tried to do everything at once. Build the play, stop the play, complain about the play. Arambari missed what might be the easiest chance of his season, and Koba, who plays with the wild freedom of someone unaware this is Real Madrid, sparked moments of raw threat. Alvaro added chaos. Mostly useful chaos, occasionally illegal chaos, but the intention was there. Passion overflowing into petulance. It's the Getafe way. But here's the kicker. They created enough. They actually created enough. Over 2 expected goals. Crosses fizzing, chances poked wide, nodded over, skied like NASA prototypes. This wasn't a team struggling for ideas. It was a team struggling with execution. The mind was willing. The boots were ridiculous. And then there's Madrid. This version of Real Madrid is what you get when a luxury yacht decides to race with a lifeboat motor. They rotated hard. They looked disinterested for stretches. And yet, they won. Because that's what Real Madrid do. Like a vending machine that always gives you the snack, even if you kick it. Ancelotti's tactical setup was more therapy session than strategy. Everyone trying to play somewhere new. Tchouaméni moonlighting as a center back. Camavinga acting like he forgot which ligament was injured. And through all the confusion there were flashes, brief glimmers of the Real Madrid you tell your grandkids about. Vinicius, electric in spells, but also kind of allergic to passing. Diaz, always one step away from doing something magical or totally insane. Ondřić, doing his best but looking like someone cosplaying a striker at a very convincing level. And Guler, who decided that scoring one ridiculous goal was enough to prove he belongs here. Madrid weren't better. They were just smarter, colder, more used to this mess. They knew they didn't need to impress, just survive. Just get 3 points and get out before something went wrong. It's almost boring how professional they are at not panicking. Meanwhile, Getafe played like a teenager on a first date with a celebrity, full of adrenaline, zero composure. You could see the belief. You could feel the fight. But the quality? That's the ceiling. You can climb the ladder, throw rocks at it, scream into the sky, but Real Madrid are the ceiling. Still, even on a bad day. So what does this tell us? It tells us Getafe are a team with guts and just enough chaos to bother anyone, but not quite enough precision to matter in the long run. And it tells us that Madrid don't need the stars aligned to win. They can win when the stars are asleep. They can win with backups, injuries, and games where their own fans might check their watches. Let's peel off the team jerseys and look at the people beneath. The ones who actually lived this game. The players who turn tactics into tension, names into narratives. Because when a match isn't pretty, it's the characters who carry you through. The flawed heroes, the reckless sidekicks, the background extras who suddenly take center stage. And let's start where we have to. Arda Guler. There's something poetic about a 20-year-old deciding that if no one else is going to light the match, he'll just set the game on fire himself. Guler's goal was a thing of curl and confidence, the kind of strike that suggests he's either completely at peace or has no idea how hard football's supposed to be. Either way, it was a gem. Real Madrid did not create much, but Guler created enough. He walks off with the winner, and maybe, just maybe, a little extra trust in his back pocket. Then there's Thibaut Courtois, the eternal anxiety repellent. If you're a Real Madrid fan and your pulse was stable in the final 10 minutes, it's because you remembered who was in goal. He didn't have to be acrobatic, but he had to be calm, composed, and, most importantly, willing to lay on the ball like a giant human paperweight anytime it came near him. Mission accomplished. Lucas Vazquez. The man who's somehow always available. Right back, captain, utility, Swiss Army knife. He played like a guy who knows the manager trusts him just enough to always start in games nobody else wants. He gave everything. He defended, he pressed, he picked fights. A captain not because of flash, but because of grind. And Fran Garcia, less a fullback and more a human pinball. Bounced off players, flew into challenges, occasionally made it up the pitch. Not always graceful, but always game. The kind of guy who shows up in muddy boots and a broken shin pad and says, "Put me in." Let's talk about Endrick. You want to root for him. You really do. He's talented, he's got swagger, but right now he's also got the unfortunate problem of looking like a boy trying to play in a grown man's coat. Every touch is an audition. Every miss is a reminder. Talent needs time. He'll come good, you can feel it in flashes, but today wasn't his moment. Vinicius Jr. What do you even say about Vinicius anymore? He's chaos incarnate. Skips past 3, then ignores the simple pass. Dances through defenders, then fires across into row Z. He's a conductor whose orchestra doesn't always have the sheet music, but still his threat is undeniable. He stretches defenses like taffy. Even on an off day, he's the storm everyone's trying to prepare for. Brahim Diaz deserves a nod too. He had moments where he looked like the only one who remembered that you're allowed to dribble forward with the ball. He pressed, harassed, and fired off a vicious shot in the first half that made Soria wish gloves came with parachutes. Now over to Getafe, and if there's one man who deserves sympathy and maybe a chocolate bar, it's David Soria. He did everything he could. Saved Garcia's blast, parried Diaz, almost reached Guler's curling missile, and still came away with nothing but sore palms and a blank scoresheet. Football's cruel like that. Borja Mayoral ran like a man trying to convince the world he's more than a former Madrid prospect. He gave Tchouaméni a headache and probably left divots in the turf with how many times he sprinted into blind alleys. No goal, no glory, but not for lack of effort. And let's give a chaotic round of applause to Alvaro and Koba. Substitutes with a mission. Cause problems, and they did. Alvaro nearly turned Courtois into a pancake. Koba delivered crosses like drunk arrows, wildly unpredictable, occasionally deadly. They brought fire, if not finesse. Lastly, Aurélien Tchouaméni shifted into center-back like someone being asked to drive a bus on short notice. And he did it. Not perfectly. Not comfortably, but bravely. took some knocks, made some tackles, got away with a face shove that could have easily seen him off. It's always the quiet ones, right? All in all, this game was less about brilliance and more about burden. Who could handle it? Who could bear the weight of 97 minutes of doubt and pressure? Madrid found just enough. Getafe found frustration. And in between, 22 humans gave us a match that will be forgotten by history, but remembered in feeling. That's all from me. This has been Across the Pitch, over and out.